Harrison Graham here, reacting to some breaking NFL news here on 4 Verts. The Ravens have signed former All-Pro cornerback Jaire Alexander to a 1-year, $6 million contract. He reportedly turned down more money elsewhere to go to Baltimore and reunite with his college teammate Lamar Jackson. I do always laugh like, oh, he turned down more to come here. I don't know how much more money was actually going to be out there for Jaire, but perhaps he took $1 million, $2 million less to head to the Ravens, obviously a perennial AFC contender. This comes on the heels of Lamar Jackson pleading to the Ravens front office, Eric DeCosta, the GM, about bringing his buddy to Baltimore. He said, go get him, Eric. I love all our corners, don't get me wrong, but go get him, Eric. I hit Jaire up. You never know with Jaire, but that's my boy. Well, Lamar gets his wish. And I got to say, I love this move. This is a pretty low-risk move in my opinion. Obviously, Jaire comes with some baggage. There were some issues between him and the Packers over the years. But when he's healthy and when he's right, he is a premier cornerback in the NFL. And if this trio is healthy, with Marlon Humphrey at the nickel, Nate Wiggins, who really came on late last year in his rookie year, really fast corner on the outside, and now Jaire as the other outside corner, that is a nasty trio, man. I mean, they can all make plays on the football. Nate Wiggins had a nice pick six late in the year last year. We know how good Humphrey is. Jaire, when he's healthy, is still, I don't know, top 15 corner in the league. And really, that's going to be the key because he's been hurt a lot. He's missed 20 games over the past 2 years. He missed 13 games back in 2021. He hasn't really had a mostly healthy season in the last 4 years other than 2022. 3 out of 4 years, he's played well less than half the game. So I think this is, a low-risk move in the sense that not a ton of money, 1-year deal, but with the acknowledgement that, odds kind of tell us he probably will miss some time. And that is where already having signed Chidobe Awuzie and drafting TJ Tampa a couple years ago, you got good depth as well, right? So if Alexander goes down, you could plug in Cheeto. If Wiggins goes down, you've got TJ Tampa as well. So I think you got 5 corners you at least feel decent about, but your top 3 you feel great about when they're out on the field. I mean, I would put this cornerback trio with any unit in the league. And we know how good the safeties are with Kyle Hamilton, arguably one of the best chess pieces in the NFL. Malachi Starks is a rookie, but he's absolutely fantastic. Don't forget, too, they lost our Darius Washington to an injury earlier in the offseason program, so adding another piece to that secondary I do think makes a lot of sense. Okay, grade the signing of the Ravens grade the Ravens signing, I should say, of Jaire Alexander, 1 year, $6 million, ABC to your F. I think for this team, right place, right time. I think it's an A move. I like it quite a bit. Okay, Deebo's speed in pressing. Dan Quinn claims at Commanders minicamp that his speed has stood out, calling him one of the fastest players on the team. You're going to have to consider me skeptical of that. Look, I'm not trying to rip on Deebo, and I'm not overreacting to a couple of clips on social media, but Deebo hasn't been a speed player in a while. Even at his peak, he wasn't some elite straight-line runner. He was elusive, good with the ball in his hands, certainly, but he's never been what I would consider a burner. So, I don't really believe Dan Quinn when he says that. Like, is this him having love for Deebo to kind of drown down the social media noise? Is this him playing coy with the media amidst a holdout for Terry McLaurin to kind of hype up Deebo and somehow publicly lower the value of McLaurin? I wouldn't think Dan Quinn is naive enough to think that would work. His explosiveness has declined. I mean, he just has not been the same guy the last couple years. Now, again, good player, could still do some things, but not a speed guy, not going to beat one-on-one coverage very consistently against good corners in this league, which is why I've said for weeks now that Terry McLaurin holds a lot of leverage over Washington because it's a critical time. They're trying to win on Jaden Daniels' rookie year, and there's a considerable drop-off from him to Deebo and the rest of this wide receiver group. So I think you look at Deebo, you traded a 5th-round pick for him. That's kind of what he is. He's a complementary piece. If he's your, 3rd overall weapon on offense among all the skill groups, that's probably a good role for him. Manufacture some touches, get him the ball in space. He's still pretty good with the ball in his hands. He can break some tackles, but he's not going to wow anybody with his speed. That's not really his game at this point. Even at the peak of his powers, he wasn't just a straight up burner. So not really sure what Dan Quinn was trying to accomplish. But I guess I just don't really believe him when he says he's one of the fast. Put it this way: if he's one of the fastest players on their team, they're in trouble. I don't see that being the case for Washington. Okay, Kairen Williams, Sean McVay sharing with reporters that they have made progress on extending their young star running back, who, is it fair to say, has quietly become one of the best running backs in the league? I mean, when you talk about the better running backs in the NFL, how many names do you list off before you talk about Kyren Williams? I mean, it's got to be double digits, and he's probably pretty firmly a top 10 guy at this point in time, at least close to it. Kind of like the James Cook situation, who I do like more. I like James Cook better than Kyren Williams, but sure, he's not Saquon, he's not Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry. In this case, since he's not as good of a receiving threat as James Cook, I'd probably take Jonathan Taylor over Kyren Williams as well. Perhaps even Josh Jacobs. But after that, I mean, I would take a Bijan Robinson. I'd probably gamble on an Ashton Genty, even though he hasn't played in the NFL yet. Jahmyr Gibbs, too. But I don't know if there's any other names I would take over him. So that puts Kyren right around 10, 11th best running back in the league. If I'm the Rams, I'm trying to get this done pretty quick because I think all things equal, James Cook will and should command a little bit more than Kyren. He's more dynamic as a receiving threat out of the backfield. But if James Cook were to get paid first, I think Kyren Williams is close enough to that caliber of player. His agent could push to top James Cook money, and you don't want to get into that game. Like I'd be a little nervous giving Kyren Williams $16 million per year because, again, he's just as good of a runner as James Cook, but he does not provide that much in the receiving game. So that would be my thought on that. But again, quietly become a really good player. Had over 300 carries last year for the Rams. They lean on him in that backfield. They drafted Jarquez Hunter as well, have Blake Corum in there. But clearly they're trying to extend him and keep him as a focal point of their rushing attack. Who do you guys think gets more money on a new contract? Type JC for James Cook, KW for Kyren Williams. I think it'll be James Cook. I think Williams, it sounds like there's more positive momentum toward a contract there. So, does he get the Jacobs deal, 12 for 48? Maybe they top that, give him 12 for 50, 12 for 52, give him a little more money than Josh Jacobs. I could see that being the case. I think James Cook pushes more for like Derrick Henry money. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of For Verts. Hopefully everybody has a fantastic day, and we will be back tomorrow with more NFL content. So be sure to subscribe and join us.